My name is Corey Burris, and I have the honor of working for the Georgia Center for Opportunity, where we live by the motto, not for self, but for others. Every day, I get to talk with people breaking through serving their communities. These are nonprofit leaders, local volunteers, and businesses. This is the Breakthrough Podcast. This week I'm joined by Belva, Dorsey, and Darcey Terris. Their work within the Chattahoochee Valley Poverty Reduction Coalition is addressing poverty and identifying systemic failures while gathering community organizations and resources to combat the problem. I'm very happy to have with me Belva Dorsey of the Enrichment Services Program and Darcey Terris of CQIU. Both of these wonderful women are part of the Chattahoochee Valley Poverty Reduction Coalition, something that we are doing with Hiring While Doing Good in the Columbus, Georgia area. So thank you both for being on and being able to speak with me today about what you are working on and working towards. But
Thank you.
I want to hear a little bit about both of your organizations. We'll start with you, Belva. Tell me a little bit about what the Enrichment Services Program is all about.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to share information about the Poverty Reduction Coalition. I'm with Enrichment Services Program, and we're a community action agency that was created to address the causes and conditions of poverty. And so our organization is a part of a nationwide network of other community action agencies. We serve 9 counties, 8 counties in Georgia, and Russell County, 1 county in Alabama. Our services can fit into 4 different categories. So we offer early childhood education, employment training, we offer stabilizing services, and family strengthening services. So that's Enrichment Services Program in a nutshell.
That's great. And Darcey, tell us a little about CQIU.
CQIU was formed by myself and my partner, Nishita Morris. And our focus is on strengthening and building resilient organizations, specifically organizations that provide public health and social services. So we're working primarily with nonprofit and public agencies. And our focus comes in with a 2-pronged approach. One is bringing continuous quality improvement methodology, a way of making sure that nonprofits with limited resources can work smarter, not harder, and be as efficient as possible with their resources. We also really strongly feel that we have a mission to serve those who serve others, recognizing the often very stressful environments and contexts that they work within. We want to make sure that we're also addressing worksite wellness and work-life balance. And that's also part of building a resilient organization, is making sure that those who are providing those services are taken care of. And I think that's become very obvious in our current situation, where we're really looking at frontline responders and how important they are. What we're not thinking about are those frontline responders at the social service level.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, you both are part of this Chattahoochee Valley Poverty Reduction Coalition. What inspired you to become part of it? What was kind of that attractive point of saying, hey, we need to come together on and deal with this collectively versus kind of on our own?
There were several conversations that were taking place in our community, in the local Chattahoochee Valley community. We, Enrichment Services, hosted an on-the-table conversation. And during that conversation, you bring together different people from the community to talk about what some of the needs are. And what we heard from some of our customers was the need for more coordinated services to exist, because many of our customers are being served by multiple organizations, but they're having to go from place to place to place. And then with some of the community stakeholders, they said, that there was a need for more coordinated efforts in order for us to really see a reduction in poverty. And so that was taking place locally. And then with Circles USA and CQIU, there were conversations. And so the three organizations, Enrichment Services Program, Circles USA, and CQIU, were connected with each other and decided that we should partner with each other to create what's called a poverty reduction lab. And so we felt like, it was really time for us to explore ways to create more of a poverty management system, or poverty reduction system versus a poverty management system. Since then, we've changed our name to Poverty Reduction Coalition, but that's kind of where it started. Darcey, anything that you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, there was that fateful meeting in a hotel in Las Vegas. That's actually where Belva and I first met. We wanted to connect around an opportunity through the State of Hope initiative from Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services. And Belva, very busy schedule, just happened to be coming to a conference out in Las Vegas. And I drove up from Phoenix with an O, as I always like to say. I think that was really a great meeting of the minds, and we were really able to flesh out from there where we wanted to go.
So, Darcey, you mentioned that the current pandemic is clearly having an effect on the need around us, but also the response. How are you both adjusting or seeing the need kind of increase, and maybe even changing the way that you're approaching the situation during this time?
So we have been operating, we usually have meetings in person, but we've been operating over Zoom. So we've been conducting business, including our monthly meetings, as well as meetings that happen throughout the month. We always have a wellness focus in all of our meetings. So every month that goes out to everyone within the coalition. And we strongly encourage that information go out to staff and even clients being served by those organizations. Those wellness moments have been really focused on managing stress, specifically during this time period. I know the newsletter that just went out for June is focusing on gardening and how gardening can be used for stress reduction. And I think that's primarily what we've been working on. I know that we're also supporting ESP with some wellness webinars and potential wellness kind of coffee hours with staff. We've seen this before in that we once held a coalition meeting just a few days after tornadoes hit the nearby Alabama area. And a lot of what we can do is to help people process and reframe what's going on. And so we do end up devoting quite a bit of our time to talking through what COVID means for our organizations. We talked this just last meeting, last Friday, about how organizations were adapting as Georgia is opening up. And we've been talking, Goodwill Industries, I think is probably the first of our partner organizations that's opened up. And, we've been able to get direct feedback from Goodwill about, what this has meant for staff, both staff that cannot go back to work because of concerns for themselves, or perhaps people that they are staying at home with who are at increased risk, as well as, de-escalation training and dealing with everything that goes around opening up at this time.
We are seeing an increase in the number of people requesting food. So we partner with the food bank, and through that partnership, commodities or food boxes are distributed on a monthly basis. So again, we're seeing an increase there. And we are having to adapt how we're serving and interacting with our customers. So with our early childhood services, we had to close our centers back in March because of the governor's order. And so we had to, our teaching staff interacted with some of the children virtually. We also had staff who prepared learning packets to distribute to children and families. We've also had to distribute supplies, necessary supplies like diapers or formula or wipes, and food to parents through a drive-through style. And with some of our services, the intake part of those services, we've had to complete that over the phone. And so really soon, we're going to utilize a building that has drive-through lanes. And customers will have an opportunity to bring their documents through, they'll drive up, put their documents in the canister and go through the chute. Staff will make copies and return it in order to have that limited interaction, but still provide the necessary services.
Yeah, that's great. Well, what I find interesting a little bit about the coalition itself is this acknowledgement that poverty reduction is not a singular issue, right? There are many different pieces to the puzzle, and the coalition is this recognition that we can do one thing, but we need other people to do other things to help meet need, right? I think some people maybe people that are watching this think, well, if we just give somebody a job, everything's fixed for them, but it's not. There's other issues that they're facing. And if we just get them, enough food to get them to the next day, that solves all of their problems, but it doesn't. There are multiple elements to that. So how does the coalition approach a person in need and how to address all of these different issues? How do you work together to kind of make sure that all of the needs are met for an individual?
So I think one of the things that is important is that we are a multi-sectorial coalition. So we have people from industry and government, from the faith-based communities, local universities, the local school district. So we're getting everyone who interacts with these families at the table so that we can come up with not only strategies that focus on the person as a whole person, but focus on the family as a whole family, and address the multiple needs that someone might have. I think that's incredibly important. The one thing I will say, though, is that we're really trying to work at the system level in trying to fix and integrate processes between sectors versus kind of dealing with a single family that stands before us. Because if we can make improvements in the system, as Belva said, moving from poverty management to poverty reduction, then those improvements can affect and improve the lives of multiple families. And so that's really where our focus is.
And I'll also add to that, we're even listening to parents as well. And family members. So we've had a chance to hear what their needs are so that we can take that comprehensive approach, as Darcey mentioned. And each organization knows that we can only do so much. And it takes all of us really working together and coordinating together so that you see that continuum of services that the entire family needs versus just a piece of the need being served or addressed.
Yeah. So being that I'm from Georgia Center for Opportunity, obviously we're building the Hiring While Doing Good platform. How has that played into what the coalition is doing and helped impact kind of the vision behind what's happening, or it been just a tool? I understand it is not the answer, it is a piece of the answer, but how has the Hiring While Doing Good platform worked, or is it planned to work for the coalition?
Well, one thing that I'll mention is that with the Hiring While Doing Good platform, right now it's being piloted with our GED program that has been adopted by the coalition. And so Hiring While Doing Good is, having an opportunity. Well, Kristen Barker, I'll just give a shout out to Kristen, but she has had an opportunity to interact with the GED students. And so they have opportunities to utilize the parents system, I believe, if I'm correct. And they have the opportunity to complete the assessment. And Kristen has been very involved with interacting with them. Now, during COVID-19, some of that has been interrupted a little bit, but the parent assessment has been very beneficial in trying to, with the students, trying to determine what some of their interests are, and even helping to guide them towards some of their future careers.
We're looking specifically to help GED students build their job search self-efficacy and help them clarify what their desired career path is and what steps need to be taken, especially in the early stages, to prepare. And I think it's a good example of how we're creating very overt links between organizations. In the past, certainly one organization referred people to go and check and make contact with another organization, but those very direct, explicit links were not in place. And so, yeah, this is a great example of us doing that.
And I just want to add to what Darcey mentioned, so yes, we have made referrals in the past, and, sometimes it's not always that warm handoff. So this way you have partners at the table talking about what's needed in this whole continuum, if you will. But the other thing is that partners are able to give each other feedback on areas that could be strengthened. And so that doesn't always happen when we operate in silos. Within organizations, yes, we may see those opportunities for improvement and work on them, but through our coalition, we're able to give each other feedback and we receive it. And it just makes the organization better, our coalition better, and our communities better and stronger.
That's great.
Hiring Well, Doing Good is also part of our initial pilot cohort. We're setting up an online platform with a common family intake form. So all of the organizations who are participating in that pilot, hopefully expanding to all of the organizations that serve families in the region, are collecting the same data. So now we can create a more comprehensive story about what is happening in the Chattahoochee Valley. And we really appreciate that Kristen and Hiring Well, Doing Good is an early adopter of that.
Well, it plays into what you were saying before, Darcey, about the fact that there are these obstacles that people face in the system, and this hopefully will help us to identify where those obstacles are, that individuals, as they're working through the system, what obstacles they hit and how we can address them moving forward as well.
Right. Our goal is really to facilitate families being able to enroll in multiple services from different organizations without having to physically get themselves to each of those organizations. And I'm very, very excited about the potential, certainly during these times where we're trying to minimize contact, but even before COVID, the families that we spoke to very much identified this as a hurdle for them, and we're really looking forward to being able to launch that system.
Well, before we go, I want to give you guys both an opportunity to talk about how people can get a hold of what you're doing as organizations, but also how they can find out more about the Chattahoochee Valley Poverty Reduction Coalition.
If anybody wants additional information about Enrichment Services Program, we do have a Facebook page, Enrichment Services, and then we also have our website, which is www.enrichmentservices.org.
Yes, and we are really excited that we were able to launch the website for the Chattahoochee Valley Poverty Reduction Coalition. And that website is www.cvpovertyreductioncoalition.org. And we did do that domain name in part because there are other organizations that serve that region, and they also use that CV in part of their name. And that is someplace where not only can someone find information, but also get resources and read about upcoming events. So I really hope that your listeners or watchers will check out that website. And then CQIU, we also have a website, and that website address is www.cqiulife.com. And again, there they can find out a little bit more about this integration of worksite wellness and healthy work-life balance, and how that can lead to high-performing organizations.
That's great. Well, thank you both again for being on this call and for meeting me virtually via the world of Zoom. So, and thank you for the work that you guys are doing. I'm excited to hear a little more as we get moving forward. I'm sure we'll bring you back on. I want to hear how things are playing out, especially as the pandemic hopefully subsides over time, and how we're able to respond in these communities, and how the work that you're doing, what you're learning, what are the obstacles people are facing. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you for joining us. If you know of people making a difference in their community, we want to hear about them. Send us a message on Facebook at GA Opportunity. And don't forget to like us while you're there. The Breakthrough Podcast is a production of the Georgia Center for Opportunity. You can find out all the work that we do to help break down the barriers leading to poverty at georgiaopportunity.org.